The Galactic Empire was vast and ancient, stretching across countless star systems. It had conquered many worlds, leaving nothing but silence and fear in its wake. The Empire's army was unstoppable, its fleet unmatched, and its power was considered absolute. Over the centuries, the Empire had absorbed species of all kinds, forcing them into submission with ease. It had become the center of the galaxy, the ruler of all, believing that no one would ever challenge its supremacy. The humans, living on a small blue planet called Earth, were considered insignificant by the Empire. They were a primitive species, with no advanced technologies, no grand armies, and no power to speak of. In fact, the Empire had no real interest in Earth. It was simply a distant world on the edge of their domain. But that all changed when scouts discovered the first human colony on a distant moon. The Empire sent its forces to annex the territory, expecting a quick and easy victory. As the Imperial fleet entered the human solar system, they were met with silence. No alarms, no defenses, just a planet that seemed to offer no resistance. The fleet commander, Admiral Zoreth, scoffed at the thought of a fight. "They'll fall without a single shot fired," he muttered to himself. "This is hardly worth our time." However, a message from Earth interrupted his smug thoughts. It was a broadcast from the humans, sent directly to the heart of the Imperial fleet. The transmission was simple, direct, and eerily calm. "We warn you to turn back. If you do not, you will regret it." Zoreth was puzzled. Who were these humans to speak to the Empire in such a manner? The message was brief, almost dismissive, but there was something in the tone that sent a chill down his spine. It was not fear, it was something else. He couldn't place it, but it unsettled him. "Ignore it," Zoreth ordered. "They are nothing. Continue the advance. Prepare the fleet for the invasion." The fleet pressed forward, confident that no force on Earth could stop them. The Imperial fleet, led by massive dreadnoughts and advanced warships, cut through the stars toward the planet. They would soon crush this small human outpost and add another world to their empire. But as the fleet approached, something strange began to happen. The humans still made no attempt to fight back. There were no weapons fired, no defense systems deployed. Zoreth assumed it was because they had no means of resisting. But as the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, everything changed. Out of nowhere, several ships appeared from the shadows, like ghosts. These ships were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. They were sleek, fast, and moved with an almost unnatural precision. They slipped into the midst of the Imperial fleet without a sound, as if they had been there all along. Then, without warning, they launched a devastating assault. The first wave of Imperial ships exploded in flashes of light. Zoreth's eyes widened in disbelief. These humans, these supposed weaklings, were attacking with overwhelming power. The small human ships moved quickly, dodging and weaving between the larger Imperial ships, firing powerful blasts that tore through shields and hulls. Zoreth quickly ordered his fleet to retaliate, but the humans were too fast. They were everywhere, striking and disappearing before the Empire's ships could respond. It wasn't just technology they had to worry about. It was the humans themselves. They fought with a spirit the Empire had never encountered before, determined, organized, and precise. "Impossible," Zoreth shouted, his mind racing. How could they have this kind of technology? How did they prepare for this? The truth began to dawn on him, and it was a bitter realization. The humans had been preparing for this moment for years, maybe even centuries. They had studied alien technologies, reverse-engineered them, and developed their own advanced systems. They had been silently watching the galaxy, waiting for the day the Empire would come, and now that day had arrived. The Imperial fleet, so sure of their victory, found themselves struggling to defend against an enemy they had underestimated. The humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting with everything they had, everything they had learned over the years. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Humanity might have been small, but they were not weak. As the battle raged on, Zoreth received another message from the humans, transmitted once again directly to the Imperial flagship. "We warned you. Turn back while you still can." This time, Zoreth didn't brush it off. He knew deep down that this was just the beginning. The humans had already proven they were capable of far more than anyone had given them credit for. The Galactic Empire was vast and ancient, stretching across countless star systems. It had conquered many worlds, leaving nothing but silence and fear in its wake. The Empire's army was unstoppable, its fleet unmatched, and its power was considered absolute. Over the centuries, the Empire had absorbed species of all kinds, forcing them into submission with ease. It had become the center of the galaxy, the ruler of all, believing that no one would ever challenge its supremacy. The humans, living on a small blue planet called Earth, were considered insignificant by the Empire. They were a primitive species, with no advanced technologies, no grand armies, and no power to speak of. In fact, the Empire had no real interest in Earth. It was simply a distant world on the edge of their domain. But that all changed when scouts discovered the first human colony on a distant moon. The Empire sent its forces to annex the territory, expecting a quick and easy victory. As the Imperial fleet entered the human solar system, they were met with silence. No alarms, no defenses, just a planet that seemed to offer no resistance. The fleet commander, Admiral Zoreth, scoffed at the thought of a fight. "They'll fall without a single shot fired," he muttered to himself. "This is hardly worth our time." However, a message from Earth interrupted his smug thoughts. It was a broadcast from the humans, sent directly to the heart of the Imperial fleet. The transmission was simple, direct, and eerily calm. "We warn you to turn back. If you do not, you will regret it." Zoreth was puzzled. Who were these humans to speak to the Empire in such a manner? The message was brief, almost dismissive, but there was something in the tone that sent a chill down his spine. It was not fear, it was something else. He couldn't place it, but it unsettled him. "Ignore it," Zoreth ordered. "They are nothing. Continue the advance. Prepare the fleet for the invasion." The fleet pressed forward, confident that no force on Earth could stop them. The Imperial fleet, led by massive dreadnoughts and advanced warships, cut through the stars toward the planet. They would soon crush this small human outpost and add another world to their empire. But as the fleet approached, something strange began to happen. The humans still made no attempt to fight back. There were no weapons fired, no defense systems deployed. Zoreth assumed it was because they had no means of resisting. But as the fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, everything changed. Out of nowhere, several ships appeared from the shadows, like ghosts. These ships were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. They were sleek, fast, and moved with an almost unnatural precision. They slipped into the midst of the Imperial fleet without a sound, as if they had been there all along. Then, without warning, they launched a devastating assault. The first wave of Imperial ships exploded in flashes of light. Zoreth's eyes widened in disbelief. These humans, these supposed weaklings, were attacking with overwhelming power. The small human ships moved quickly, dodging and weaving between the larger Imperial ships, firing powerful blasts that tore through shields and hulls. Zoreth quickly ordered his fleet to retaliate, but the humans were too fast. They were everywhere, striking and disappearing before the Empire's ships could respond. It wasn't just technology they had to worry about. It was the humans themselves. They fought with a spirit the Empire had never encountered before, determined, organized, and precise. "Impossible," Zoreth shouted, his mind racing. How could they have this kind of technology? How did they prepare for this? The truth began to dawn on him, and it was a bitter realization. The humans had been preparing for this moment for years, maybe even centuries. They had studied alien technologies, reverse-engineered them, and developed their own advanced systems. They had been silently watching the galaxy, waiting for the day the Empire would come. And now that day had arrived. The Imperial fleet, so sure of their victory, found themselves struggling to defend against an enemy they had underestimated. The humans were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting with everything they had learned over the years. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Humanity might have been small, but they were not weak. As the battle raged on, Zoreth received another message from the humans, transmitted once again directly to the Imperial flagship. "We warned you. Turn back while you still can." This time, Zoreth didn't brush it off. He knew deep down that this was just the beginning. The humans had already proven they were capable of far more than anyone had given them credit for. But General Hayes had already anticipated this move. Earth's engineers had created a network of underground bases and supply lines, hidden from the Empire's eyes. It was a fail-safe, a last line of defense that would ensure humanity's survival, no matter how long the war lasted. As the Empire's forces launched their new assault, targeting key human resource centers, they were met with unexpected resistance. Human fighters, equipped with makeshift but highly effective weapons, fought back with surprising strength. The Empire's fleet encountered wave after wave of resistance that they hadn't predicted. Humanity's ability to adapt and innovate was on full display. But Zoreth wasn't ready to give up yet. He could see the determination in the human forces, the way they fought as if their very survival depended on it. Because it did. The Admiral knew he had to act quickly before the humans could fully recover and turn the tide again. The war was far from over. In fact, it had just begun. The humans had shown they could stand their ground, but the Empire was relentless. Zoreth tightened his grip on the armrest of his command chair. This time, he would finish it. On Earth, General Hayes looked at the horizon, where the stars were just beginning to shine. She knew the fight ahead would be long and hard, but humanity had something that the Empire could never understand: hope. And that hope was their greatest weapon. As the battle for Earth continued to unfold, the galaxy was watching, and for the first time, the Empire was not the only force in the galaxy that people feared. The war between the Galactic Empire and humanity had reached a turning point. Despite their best efforts, the Empire's forces were struggling to keep up with the humans' relentless determination and unexpected strategies. Admiral Zoreth's patience was wearing thin as his fleet, once filled with pride and power, now found itself constantly outmaneuvered and outsmarted. Where did they learn to fight like this? Zoreth growled, staring at the star maps in front of him. His fleet had been forced to retreat once again after another surprise attack by the humans. Their ships, small and seemingly unremarkable compared to the massive Imperial warships, were far more deadly than the Empire had anticipated. Zoreth's officers stood around him in silence, unsure of how to answer. The humans were not just clever, they were persistent. They had no intention of giving up. With each battle, they had proven that they could adapt faster than the Empire could predict. "We need to hit them harder, but carefully," Zoreth finally said, his voice laced with frustration. "The humans have an uncanny ability to turn the tide of battle with the smallest of moves. We cannot afford another failure." Back on Earth, General Anna Hayes had been awake for days, working tirelessly with her team to keep up with the Empire's growing power. After every battle, humanity had to adapt. They could not let their guard down, not even for a moment. The future of their planet, their way of life, was at stake. "We've already survived their first wave," Hayes said, addressing her team in the underground command center. "But we need to make sure we're ready for the next one. We cannot let them take another step forward." Her voice was steady, but behind her calm exterior, there was a fire, a determination to protect humanity no matter the cost. "General," one of the engineers said, stepping forward, "we've completed the new energy weapon. It's ready for deployment." Hayes nodded. This weapon, still in its testing phase, had the potential to change everything. It was designed to disrupt the Empire's powerful shields, giving the human ships a chance to pierce through and strike directly at the heart of the Empire's fleet. It wasn't perfect, but it was their best shot. As Hayes gave the order to prepare the weapon for deployment, the war was already beginning to escalate again. The Empire had been gathering reinforcements, and Zorath was determined to crush the humans once and for all. His fleet was growing larger, more powerful, and now he had new tactics to try. "We strike directly at their capital," Zorath told his officers, his voice cold with determination. "If we can destroy their central command, their resistance will crumble. We end this now." The Empire's fleet, armed with the latest reinforcements, surged toward Earth. Their warships, sleek and terrifying, broke through the stars at high speed. But the humans weren't sitting idly by. General Hayes had anticipated this move, and they were ready. "We have to slow them down long enough to deploy the weapon," Hayes said, her eyes focused on the battle ahead. "The fate of Earth rests on this." Her voice echoed through the command center, motivating her officers and soldiers. They had come so far, endured so much, and now victory was within their reach. The Empire had launched their final assault, but it was failing. The human fleet had proved to be more than just a nuisance. It was a force to be reckoned with. On the Empire's side, Admiral Zorath stood in disbelief. His grand plan was falling apart. The humans had fought back with everything they had, and it had been enough to shatter his fleet. He had never imagined they could be so strong, so clever. He had believed that his empire's power would crush them in an instant, but now he was witnessing their resilience firsthand. "Retreat," Zorath shouted, his voice tinged with frustration and desperation. "We cannot fight this battle anymore. The humans are too strong." His officers hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. The Empire had never been forced to retreat like this. Their pride, their arrogance, had blinded them to the true power of their opponents. They had thought the humans were weak, but now they knew the truth. The humans had built a fleet not on superior numbers, but on resourcefulness, strategy, and a fierce will to protect their home. Every ship, every soldier, every civilian who had joined the fight had become part of this united force. They weren't just fighting for victory. They were fighting for their future. As the Empire's ships scattered, trying to regroup and escape, the humans kept their momentum, pressing forward with unmatched determination. General Hayes knew this was the moment to strike the final blow. It was time to ensure the Empire could never return to Earth again. "We're not letting them escape," Hayes said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "Prepare the final wave. It's time to finish this." The human fleet surged forward, led by their flagship, the Defender. It was their most powerful ship, equipped with the latest technology and the energy weapon that had turned the tide of the war. The Defender moved into position, its cannons aimed at the remaining Empire forces. Zorath watched in horror as the humans closed in. The Defender was a symbol of their strength, and its weapons were more than enough to wipe out what remained of his fleet. "No, stop them," Zorath ordered, but his voice was weak, his confidence shattered. It was too late. The humans were relentless. They had been fighting for their survival, for their families, and for their home. And now they were determined to make sure that the Empire would never threaten Earth again. The Defender fired its energy weapon one last time. The beam of pure energy tore through the vacuum of space, hitting the largest of the remaining Empire ships with devastating force. The explosion that followed was massive. The shockwave sent ripples across the battlefield, and the Empire's fleet was reduced to burning fragments of metal. Zorath's flagship was the last to remain. It had taken the brunt of the damage, but it was still holding on, barely functioning. He knew his time was running out. "This is the end," Zorath muttered to himself, watching as the humans closed in on his ship. He had underestimated them from the start, and now he would pay the price. General Hayes gave the order. The humans moved in for the final strike. With a well-placed shot, Zorath's ship was destroyed. The once mighty fleet now reduced to nothing. The battle was over. Earth's skies were clear once more. The Empire's invasion had been stopped, and humanity had emerged victorious. On Earth, celebrations erupted. The war had been long, and the toll had been great, but humanity had fought back with everything they had. They had warned the Empire to leave, and when they refused, they had shown them the power of humanity's resolve. General Hayes stood at the command center, looking out at the stars. The war was over, but the battle had changed them all. Humanity had proven its strength to the galaxy. "We warned them," she said softly, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. "And now they know." The war had been won, and Earth was safe. But more than that, the universe now understood that humanity was not a species to be underestimated. They had proven that, when faced with impossible odds, they could fight, they could adapt, and they could win. The story of this victory would echo through the stars for generations to come, a reminder that the strength of the human spirit could never be broken. And in that moment, Zorath realized that the Empire had made a grave mistake. Admiral Zorath stared out from the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Tetanus, as his fleet limped back after the unexpected defeat. His mind raced, trying to make sense of the overwhelming surprise he had just witnessed. The human ships were far more advanced than the Empire had ever imagined, and their tactics were unpredictable. How could a species that was supposed to be primitive fight so fiercely, so intelligently? His officers stood in stunned silence, unable to grasp the magnitude of what had just happened. "Report," Zorath barked, turning toward his communications officer, a sharp-eyed alien named Drak. "Admiral, we've lost 4 dreadnoughts and 2 battlecruisers," Drak said, his voice trembling. "The human ships were able to disable our systems and retreat before we could react. It's as if they knew exactly what we would do." Zorath clenched his fists in frustration. The humans had outsmarted them at every turn. This wasn't just a fluke, it was strategy. These humans were not the easy prey the Empire had assumed. "We need to regroup and rethink our approach," Zorath muttered, pacing back and forth. "These humans clearly have hidden capabilities. We must uncover their secrets." Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity was not celebrating. Instead, they were preparing. For the first time in history, a species that had lived in isolation for centuries was facing an invasion, and they were determined not to let it happen again. Earth's leaders gathered to plan their next steps, and their message was clear. They would not back down. General Anna Hayes, a skilled strategist and leader, stood before a large holographic map of the solar system, surrounded by military and scientific advisors. Her calm demeanor contrasted with the seriousness of the situation. "The Empire is stronger than we thought, but they are not invincible. We have seen how they operate, and now we can plan accordingly. We will show them what humanity is capable of." Hayes turned to the scientists working on new technology. "Focus on improving our cloaking technology and our energy weapons. We can't rely on one success. We need to keep them on the defensive." The war wasn't just about technology, it was about the human spirit. Earth's leaders understood that it wasn't enough to have powerful weapons. They needed to unite their people and show the Empire that humanity would fight, not just with weapons, but with heart, resilience, and ingenuity. Back aboard the Titanus, Zorath was preparing for a counterattack. He could not afford to let this defeat linger. "Send word to the Emperor," he ordered. "Tell him that we will need reinforcements, advanced technology, and all available resources to deal with this threat." The Emperor's response was swift. "You will not fail," came the cold, calculating voice from the transmission. "This time, bring Earth to its knees. Show them that defying the Empire comes with consequences." The Empire was not used to being challenged. For centuries, its forces had marched across galaxies without opposition. But now, humanity had changed the game. Zorath understood that the Empire's typical tactics would not work here. The humans were too unpredictable, too clever, and their technology was more advanced than anyone had expected. Days later, the Imperial fleet returned to Earth, larger and more powerful than before. Zorath, determined to end this quickly, unleashed an overwhelming force, a full-scale invasion. This time, he would not make the mistake of underestimating the humans. He sent wave after wave of troops and warships, expecting that their sheer numbers and power would crush any resistance. But once again, humanity had a surprise in store. When the Imperial fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, they were met with an unexpected sight. Human warships, smaller than the Empire's, were scattered across the sky, moving with speed and precision. It looked like Earth was outnumbered, but in truth, the humans had carefully spread their forces out, using their advanced cloaking technology to stay hidden until the perfect moment. The Empire's forces quickly began to engage, launching missiles and energy beams toward the scattered human ships. But the humans didn't just run or hide. They struck back with calculated moves. They avoided direct hits by using the terrain of Earth's atmosphere to their advantage, hiding behind clouds, mountains, and even the planet's natural magnetic fields. Zorath's eyes widened in disbelief as one of his flagship's main weapons systems was disabled in an instant by a well-placed strike from a human ship. His fleet had already begun to lose control. "What is happening?" Zorath yelled. The Empire's ships were starting to falter under the unexpected strategy. Across the room, the engineers worked furiously, making final adjustments to the energy weapon that had already turned the tide of the battle once before. The weapon was humanity's trump card. They had built it from the ground up, using every bit of knowledge, creativity, and ingenuity they had. It was their weapon of hope, and now it was ready. Meanwhile, on the Empire's flagship, Admiral Zorath was watching the humans with growing frustration. His fleet had taken heavy losses, and despite their superior numbers, they were being pushed back. The human forces had become more aggressive, more organized. They were fighting like they had nothing to lose, and that made them dangerous. "They keep coming," Zorath muttered to his officers. "We've thrown everything at them, and they're still not giving up." His officers exchanged worried glances. The Empire had never faced an opponent like this before. The humans were resilient, resourceful, and seemingly endless in their determination. Zorath knew he couldn't afford to lose, but at this point, it was hard to see how they could win. "We've got one last card to play," Zorath said, his voice low but steady. "Prepare the final assault. We'll use everything we have to crush them once and for all." The Empire's fleet began to form up, readying for their last push. Zorath's ships moved into position, massive warships surrounded by smaller attack vessels. The humans were outnumbered, but they had proven time and time again that they were not to be underestimated. Back on Earth, General Hayes was watching the Empire's fleet move into position on the command center screens. She knew the final push was coming. This would be the most dangerous moment of the entire war. "Prepare the defense," Hayes ordered. "Get the energy weapon online. We can't let them break through." The battle erupted once again, a storm of laser fire and explosions filling the sky. The Empire's ships fired in unison, and the human fleet responded with everything they had. Each side fought fiercely, but the humans had one advantage: heart. They fought for Earth, for their families, for their future. The Empire was fighting to maintain control, to preserve their power, but they had underestimated humanity's will to survive. As the battle raged, General Hayes knew that this was it. This was the moment where everything would be decided. They couldn't afford to hold back anymore. Every fighter, every ship, every piece of technology, and every human mind had to come together for this final assault. "We have to finish this now," Hayes said to her team, her voice unwavering. "Fire the energy weapon. Take them down." With a thunderous roar, the energy weapon fired, sending a beam of pure energy across the battlefield. It collided with one of the Empire's largest ships, sending shockwaves through the fleet. The Empire's ship shields flickered and then failed completely, and the massive vessel began to break apart. Zorath watched in disbelief as his ship was destroyed before his very eyes. He had never imagined the humans would be capable of such a devastating attack. "No," Zorath screamed. "Retreat. Pull back." But it was too late. The momentum had shifted. The Empire's forces were scattered, their ships in disarray. The humans had found their opening, and they weren't letting it slip away. As the final push continued, General Hayes watched with pride as her forces closed in. The humans were winning, and the Empire's hold on the galaxy was slipping away. Zorath had underestimated them, and now he would pay the price. It wasn't over yet, but with each passing moment, the humans were getting closer to their goal. The Empire had come to Earth expecting to crush them, but instead, they had awakened something in humanity, a force more powerful than any weapon. The final battle was still raging, but the outcome was clear. Earth would not fall. Humanity would not be defeated. The final battle had begun, and Earth's fate hung in the balance. The Empire's fleet was in chaos. Despite their superior numbers and technology, they had underestimated humanity's determination, resilience, and creativity. The humans had fought back fiercely, and now the Empire's grand plans were on the brink of collapse. General Hayes stood on the bridge of the command center, watching the battlefield unfold on the screen before her. The humans had dealt a crushing blow to the Empire's flagship, and now their forces were retreating, unable to hold their ground. "We've got them on the run," Hayes said, a fierce determination in her eyes. "Keep pushing forward, everyone. We're not done yet. This is our chance to end this." The engineers worked quickly, making last-minute adjustments to the weapon. They knew how crucial this was. The humans had come up with the weapon in record time, a testament to their ingenuity and resolve. But even with it, they couldn't afford to waste any time. Every second counted. As the countdown began, the skies over Earth darkened once again with the Empire's ships. The massive fleet began its descent, prepared to unleash everything they had. But humanity had learned to fight back. They weren't just hiding behind their technology. They were fighting with everything they had: heart, mind, and soul. General Hayes watched the battle unfold on the screens before her. "Move out," she ordered. "We take the fight to them." The human fleet, though smaller and less powerful, was fast. They darted in and out of the Empire's line of fire, using their superior agility to avoid the incoming blasts. Their fighters swarmed the Imperial ships, disabling one after another with precision strikes. But Zorath was not easily fooled. He had anticipated this move and had prepared his fleet to counter the humans' tactics. He ordered his ships to spread out, forming a wide barrier to block the humans' movements. The humans would have to fight their way through, and Zorath was ready to make sure they wouldn't escape this time. "We cannot let them retreat again," Zorath muttered, his eyes locked onto the screen. "Prepare the full assault." The Empire's ships powered up their weapons, ready to unleash their full might. But just as Zorath gave the order to fire, something unexpected happened. The energy weapon the humans had been working on came online, and a brilliant beam of light shot out from Earth's surface. It hit one of the Empire's largest ships square in the center, and the ship's shields collapsed instantly. "Impossible," Zorath shouted, staring in disbelief at the screen. The humans had done it. They had cracked the Empire's greatest defense. As the battle raged on, the Empire's fleet began to falter. The humans were pushing forward, using the energy weapon to take down ship after ship. But despite the success, General Hayes knew they couldn't let up. There was still a long way to go. The tide of the battle was turning in favor of Earth, but it wasn't over yet. Zorath, desperate and unwilling to admit defeat, ordered a last-ditch effort to reclaim control. His fleet regrouped and launched a final assault, hoping to break the humans' momentum and strike at their most vulnerable points. But the humans were ready. They had learned from every mistake, adapted to every new strategy. They had already proven that they could fight, and now they would show the Empire that they could win. As the Imperial fleet pressed forward, the humans' fighters closed in from every angle. The sky above Earth became a battlefield unlike any seen before, filled with the brilliant flashes of weapons fire and the hum of ships moving at breakneck speeds. General Hayes, watching it all unfold, knew that this was humanity's moment to prove that they could survive against any odds. The Empire had underestimated them, and now they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The war had dragged on for weeks, but now the end was finally in sight. The humans had pushed the Empire's forces to the brink, and the tide of battle had begun to shift in their favor. Earth's skies were filled with the sounds of laser fire and explosions, but amidst the chaos, a quiet determination settled over the planet's defenders. General Hayes stood in the heart of the command center, her eyes fixed on the screens before her. The humans had been fighting with everything they had: brains, brawn, and sheer willpower. But now, they faced their biggest challenge yet. The Empire's main fleet had regrouped, and they were coming for Earth with everything they had left. "They're not backing down," Hayes said to her officers, her voice calm but firm. "We need to give it everything we've got. This is our chance to end this once and for all." Her words were met with a determined nod from her team. Everyone in that room knew what was at stake. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a fight for Earth's future, for humanity's place in the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated the humans, and now it was time for them to realize their mistake. The human fleet, though smaller, was relentless. They had learned from every battle, each skirmish, each mistake, and they had used that knowledge to craft new strategies. Now, they were poised to strike at the heart of the Empire's forces. "We've got one shot at this," General Hayes said, her gaze sharp. "If we can break through their defenses, we can cripple their command ships and bring this war to an end." The first wave of Imperial ships entered Earth's atmosphere, and the battle began. Missiles flew across the sky, their explosions lighting up the darkness of space. The human fleet was smaller, but it was more agile, using Earth's natural terrain to its advantage. They darted in and out of the clouds, dodging blasts from the Empire's larger ships. As the battle raged on, the humans launched their new energy weapon. It struck the first Imperial ship with a bright flash, disabling its shields. The Empire's forces were stunned. They had not expected this. "We've breached their shields," one of the human officers shouted in victory. But Zoreth was not about to give up. He had seen the humans' trick, and now he would use their own tactics against them. "Prepare for the counterattack," he ordered. "Do not let them regroup." The Empire's forces retaliated with all their might. They sent wave after wave of attacks, trying to overwhelm the human ships. Yet, despite the Empire's raw power, the humans fought with incredible resilience. Each move they made was calculated and precise, each ship working together like a single, well-oiled machine. On the ground, the people of Earth watched the battle unfold in the skies. They could see the explosions and flashes of light, the towering figures of Imperial ships looming over the planet. But they did not hide. They did not cower. Instead, the people of Earth came together, united in the belief that their planet, their home, was worth fighting for. Families, friends, neighbors, everyone had a role to play. From the scientists creating new weapons to the civilians providing support and shelter, humanity was standing strong. The war was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a battle for their future. As the humans fought back with everything they had, General Hayes knew that the true strength of Earth lay not in its weapons, but in its people. Every day they fought, they proved that the Empire had made a grave mistake by underestimating them. The Empire had thought humanity would crumble under pressure, but as the battle raged on, it became clear the humans were not going to back down. They were not going to surrender. They were ready to fight for their future, and they were willing to make the Empire understand that no one, no matter how powerful, could break the human spirit. The war had reached a critical moment. Earth's skies had been filled with the sounds of battle for weeks, but as the Empire's ships grew larger and more numerous, it felt as if humanity's victory was slipping further away. But despite the odds, the humans refused to surrender. They had endured, adapted, and fought back in ways the Empire had never imagined. Admiral Zoreth watched the battle unfold on his command screen, his face a mask of frustration. The new energy weapon had taken down several of his ships, and the humans' small, nimble ships continued to evade his attacks. Each time he thought he had them cornered, they slipped away, using the planet's terrain to their advantage. "They're too unpredictable," Zoreth said under his breath, his fingers tapping on the armrest of his chair. "They don't fight like anything I've seen before." His officers stood nearby, unsure of how to respond. The humans had defied every expectation. Zoreth's fleet was far superior in terms of size and firepower, but it was clear now that brute force alone would not win this war. "What's the status on the capital strike?" Zoreth finally asked. "We're ready, Admiral," one of his officers replied. "We've identified the location of their central command. If we hit it, we can cripple their defense systems. They won't be able to keep up the fight." Zoreth considered the plan carefully. A direct strike at the human capital might just be the key to breaking their will. But a small part of him wondered if they were underestimating their opponents once again. The humans had already surprised him once. Could they do it again? Meanwhile, on Earth, General Hayes was preparing for the next wave of the Empire's assault. Her forces had held strong, but she knew the battle was far from over. She paced back and forth in the command center, her mind working at full speed as she analyzed the situation. "They're coming," Hayes said, looking at the screens that showed the Empire's approaching fleet. "This is it. They're going to strike at the heart of our command." Her officers nodded, but there was no fear in their eyes. They had seen the worst, and they had survived. The battle for Earth was more than just a fight for survival now. It was a fight for humanity's future. "We have one chance," Hayes said, turning to her engineers. "The energy weapon. It needs to be deployed in the next hour. We can't let them destroy our command center. We need to keep them from breaking through."